BDSM is essentially the exploration of the human spectrum of arousal and pleasure. Now, arousal doesn't only mean sexual feelings. Arousal is basically emotion, all emotions. So when we consider the human spectrum of arousal, it includes the positive, joy, peace, contentment, and the negative, fear, loneliness, and shame, etc. One thing that is very important to understand about human emotions: negative doesn't mean bad. Negative emotions are just as important to experience as the positive. In fact, I would say we learn more and grow more from feeling negative emotions. If we consider the spectrum of arousal as a sphere, in the top half, you have all the positive emotions, and in the bottom half, you have all the negative emotions. They balance each other like yin and yang, and all together give a complete human experience. So if we only endeavor to experience the positive emotions, running away from or disregarding the negative, then we are missing out on half of our human experience. The problem is, society has taught us to fear and reject negative emotions, rather than learning to deal with them in a healthy and grateful way. BDSM isn't afraid to value negative arousal. In fact, it uses it, harnesses the power of it to create experiences that are life-changing and fulfilling. In essence, it is using the negative to produce a positive outcome. It is like getting a hard, deep massage on sore shoulders. It hurts, but somehow it feels good. And even though there might be some aching afterwards, in the end, the pain experience was worth it because the shoulders feel good again, even better than before. You might be thinking, why would someone want to experience negative emotions such as fear and shame? Well, often such is tied to sexual awakenings when somebody was younger, and the negative emotions spliced into their sexual experience. Now, I'm not a psychologist, but by talking with people about this, I find that BDSM desires and fetishes generally come into existence because when a person started to recognize their sexuality, at the time, whatever was happening adds to it. The human mind is certainly fascinating. Sometimes the need to experience negative emotions is because a person feels they are missing something in themselves, something that they want to have. Courage, for instance. You can't develop courage unless you experience fear and practice overcoming it. About a year ago, I met a particular man. We'll call him John. He was 44. He wanted to be my cuck, meaning that he wanted a relationship with me where he was sexless and I went out and enjoyed sex with many other men. Having a cuckold dynamic is quite difficult when you're not already in a committed romantic relationship. There is a whole bunch of psychology to it, of submission and shame and humiliation and degradation that needs to be played out, and this can't be successfully done if the stakes aren't high enough. The emotional connection in a relationship needs to be intense, so the negative feelings can take proper effect when cuckolding. For me to take on someone who is wanting to experience such dramatic emotions, I need to know the whys. I want to judge for myself if such a dynamic could be beneficial or harmful to the person. Safety is everything. And if I feel a person does not have the capacity to experience such a dynamic, or I don't feel I have the capacity they need for me to guide and support them, I will decline. So I asked John why he wanted to feel so horrible. He said to me that he has had the best life ever. He grew up in a loving home, his parents were still together. He has many great friends, went to a private school, and was the captain of his local football team. He went on to being very successful with his career and traveled the world for it. He's quite stunningly handsome, and so he has never had a problem with hookups or relationships, as women just threw themselves at him and would do whatever he wanted to keep him, though this left him feeling unfulfilled. But mostly, he has had a happy life and has gotten everything he wanted. So I asked him again, Why do you want to feel so horrible? John said he has had such a blessed life that he feels he's missed out on experiences that would have developed him properly into a better man. Throughout his life, John watched his friends struggle. They lived in poorer situations. Their parents divorced, lived in separated homes. They were often rejected by sports and jobs and romantic partners. But yet, John saw his friends grow from these hardships, become better people, become better men. John felt he was lacking the inequalities, the deepening that comes from hard life experiences. And he knew it was because he didn't have anything in his life that challenged him, that forced him to deal with difficult situations. And so he felt shallow as a human being. That was the right answer for me. It meant John had truly thought about who he was and who he wanted to be, that he was willing to go to dark places, to experience negative feelings in order to learn and grow to be a better person, a person he could feel prouder of. Coming to me also meant that he was quite smart and sane. Instead of trying to seek out a cockholding situation in the vanilla world, he decided to acquire a mistress who would create a real yet controlled situation to monitor and correct the journey for his safety. So BDSM is a lot more than just getting your rocks off. It can be a part of a soul-defining journey, an exploration of the human condition, and a quest to innovate practices that amplifies the experience of arousal and pleasure. Thus, a man engaging in a BDSM affair is often on a different path than a man having a vanilla affair.